Yo. Ouais. Drama life, crypto daily, toujours gratos, toujours quali. Trop de blabla, trop de jalousie, mais personne n'arrête dragon. Crypto drinks, on trinque, on parle vrai. Y'a pas de micro scoopé, pas de langue de bois, ça débat, ça clash, mais toujours carré. Ici c'est du lourd, pas du blabla. Crypto show, Satoshi en pluie. On balance du vrai pendant qu'il m'en dit 1 million pour les vrais OG. Eux cherchent des vues, mais personne clique. Ils voulaient régner, mais ça prend pas. Ils ont tenté l'anglais, même là-bas c'est plat. Ils vendent des newsletters, mais personne n'achète. La sardine voulait nager, elle s'est noyée net. Y'en a qui se prennent pour des grizzlies. Panda viens ici, mange ton bambou. Y'a un an t'as sorti des screens. J'disais rien de sombre mais t'as vu tout en zoom. Même toi tu sais plus pourquoi c'était si grand. À l'époque t'étais sûr, maintenant tu sais plus quand.
Hello everyone. Nice meeting you. Welcome to the live. So Tonight, we are joined by Beniamin Mincu and his brother, Beniamin Mincu, founder of MultiversX, one of the most ambitious and speaking of project in crypto. So EGLD was once a top 20 assets, top 20, sorry, my English is not that good. I'm French after all. Today, the token is fighting to regain momentum, with a new tokenomics model that changes everything. Inflation, DAO, funds, buyback, US deals, and more. So let's go straight to it. We have right now Beniamin and Lucian that are already here. Hello to everyone. And let's go. Hey, Ben. Hey, Lucian.
Hello. How's it going,
How are you
Ben?
guys?
Great.
Bonsoir.
How are you?
Oh, very, very great. Also, I didn't have enough time to get myself around the whole tokenomics change you guys are doing right now on MultiversX. We worked like crazy for today with all the team, and I thank them for it too, to have a lot of questions for you guys. Before the first question, I just want to explain to the public how is it going to work, how the com and the chat will be read and answered. So we're going to have 4 different themes. The first one will be about big picture, why now and all. The second theme will be around the ecosystem flywheel you guys have done or want to do. The third one will be about funding, governance, and reflexive investment. And the last one will be about inflation, scarcity, and trust. So how it's going to work? I'm going to have some question for you guys, and we will have after each theme a 2 or 3 minute break where people will have to ask the question if they have any question, and you guys will answer it. About that, always be respectful, guys. Please, everyone in the chat, just know that we will block and ban every unrespectful commentaire and all. So if you have question, no problem, my pleasure, be my guest, but just make sure it's at a good timing. So after the theme question, and I think we're good to go. You guys, do you want to begin with something? Do you have something to say? Anything?
I think we have quite some stuff to say tonight. Indeed. But Benny, maybe I'll give you first the mic to open the stage.
It's really great to be here. First and foremost, want to thank you, Ben, and the French community just for being here and having this conversation. I think I've mentioned in my last conversations with French, but will state it from the start. I just love Napoleon. Not sure how many young people still love him, but that's a good start for the conversation.
A lot. I hope so. Okay, guys. So I have a few questions about the big picture. Why you guys decided to implement this now?
Sure.
The first question is a community question we received a lot when we announced the live. So as you guys know, EGLD, that's how you say it in English, right? I'm not.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So EGLD has been in constant decline for years, failing out of the top 20 crypto market. Sorry. What do you think caused that? The market execution error, a deeper flow in the original economic model?
Europe, in one word. Okay. There is very little capital in Europe, very little appetite. Regulatory clearance and the ecosystem have not been really conducive to this type of startups. And it's almost that EGLD and MultiversX were an exception to the rule. If you look at what's happening in Europe, the reason why we're changing this is threefold. One, right now is the moment. The macro landscape is preparing, we believe, for one of the potentially biggest bull macro fundamentals ever. Second, the US is setting in place the regulatory clearance, the market structure, and there is really great appetite there. And last, We have Supernova, which is the biggest upgrade since Elrond. And with that, it is very natural that we put the best type of economics to great work.
Okay. Lucien, do you want to add something?
Yes. So maybe I'll just give a short insight to build on top what Beniamin was saying. And I've been spending the last months in the US, and one of the very interesting stories that I want to point out is the All In Summit. All In Summit or All In Podcast is perhaps one of the most listened or most renowned one that people can relate to. There are 3 tech billionaires having actually one of the most reputable podcasts or setup distributions for it started for tech updates or landscape of the market, generally speaking, and then also they built towards something else. And just to give a sense, President Trump actually just had his fundraise at one of the guys' home, which is David Sachs, and also happened to be the advisor of the White House for crypto and AI. Now, looking particularly at the stage of which last year was the president actually on stage, or the political campaign run on the All-In Summit. This year, I was surprised to see which are the companies aligned with Elon Musk, with Google founders, with Palantir CEO at the same table, at the same distribution. So looking from that lens, which is the bet, actually those guys that are very much opportunists and reading and having a bet actually on what they do. The most fascinating point was that the majority of the companies on stage presented, again, along Elon Musk, were actually companies that were launching products in crypto or serving the crypto space, either preparing for an IPO or already listed, but with the biggest bets on there. Now, if I look at the markets, there's a delta which is definitely not priced in. Those guys are seeing something the same way they saw something with the presidential election as an opportunity. The same way those guys actually, not only the founders of those brilliant companies are betting full into this industry, but also those guys that are actually close to the president or the administration are also placing them with big balls, if I'm allowed to say, at the same table with Elon Musk. I cannot stress this, how big of a difference is compared to what are we talking about here in Europe or at home? How many of the countries or countries and companies are having actually an agenda for blockchain today, as of today? And if I look at, again, just a few hours of flight from where we talk, that's quite a fundamental shift. Now, this is why we're doing this. I think this is the only thing that makes a difference fundamentally. And pausing here and giving you the mic again.
Thank you. Yeah, actually, I remember, Ben, we did an interview around a year and a half ago, yeah. And you wanted to go to the States. Donald Trump wasn't elected yet, and you were like, yeah, maybe if I go to the States, I'll finish in prison. So okay,
and that has changed. That has changed fundamentally, and that's the reason. And you moving from France and so on, I think you feel it also very different, right?
Definitely.
So that's the he just moved to Canada, by the way, from France. So I think that just speaks a bit different.
Definitely. Another question, guys. Why launch this freeform now and not, I don't know, a month ago or a year ago when the market was maybe more favorable?
I don't think there's and then I'll let Lucien continue. This is like the question on planting trees. The best time was 5 years ago, 10 years ago. The next best time is today. But I do think that from a macro landscape, there has never been a stronger market right now. Liquidity is coming in, rate cuts are coming in. Those will put pressure on crypto. Now, to deliver on that, we need to have the best technology and be in the US. That's very simple.
Okay. You often say stagnation, is our biggest enemy. What exactly it's very difficult to say, but what exactly this means inside MultiversX? Innovation, adoption, internal decision making?
capital gains or capital influx for attracting new investors and attracting new liquidity inside the ecosystem. If I look at the products that we have built, again, I'm proudly to say that the technical capacity and the technical implementation of those stuff are something that we should be, and we are very proud of. If I look at the incentives that, and being frank after and admitting what it takes actually to bring liquidity into a chain, nothing just happens. Being frank about that, nothing, and especially looking at what we started from and how the market shifted since we started actually in 2017, everything changed. Just stating this again, everything changed. Nothing just happens, and liquidity doesn't just comes in. Liquidity or chains need to have proper distribution, proper incentives, TVL deals. Just putting it out there, I think there's no taboo to speak and put exactly the topics that needs to be addressed, because I don't think, technically speaking, we are inferior. I don't think, especially community speaking, especially the reason we are here today. How many other ecosystems out of Europe do still have a community or an ecosystem that is so fire driven that would either almost try to find us and go against us? This tells you a bit that we did many things right, and I think we have many things right, but some stuff we did right, and this is particularly the reason why we're changing, and I think we're adapting to serve and bridge. I will just summarize. I think the EGLD has a superior distribution compared to almost any other currency out of Europe at this point. Now, what it's needed, and where I see the maximum delta of opportunity, is if this community and distribution is being bridged with the right capital influx, this will literally has a potential that is unprecedented. And why I'm saying I might sound already too cheesy on that, but if I look what all the other ecosystem are trying to do with big capital, actually acquire users, acquire community, and going exactly against or after EGLD or after our community to acquire them and move them somewhere else. We're here to make a change and make sure that we take our place.
About making a change, many people see this as a survival move. Is this proposal about saving MultiversX or scaling it?
It's both. If you do not survive, there is no scaling and there is no betting. And what Lucian was mentioning is most of the projects that have started with us in the same batch, 2017, 18, 19, they don't exist anymore. Most of the projects actually do not exist. Of course, we exist despite being in Europe. Now we woke up to the thing that, one, we don't need to stay in Europe. That's not enough. There's not enough space, capital, and movement. Second, we do have the technology with Supernova that will punch extremely hard. And then we just need the ignition. You suppose you have the best technology, you're in the market. Unless you make a big move, you don't exist in the US. So we're making the big move, and this is why we're doing it. Right now, we believe is the best moment.
I'll jump in and then just say something very contrarian. I would say here, I don't believe in long-term and longevity of blockchains unless it's about domination. And this is particularly, I don't believe that just existing gives you any more a very long upside in this. I don't believe in just waking up, and I don't tend to, and would say I don't. It doesn't represent me and what I stand for to wake up and not getting better and not improving things to a degree where I think that we are capable of everything. It's up to us to literally be aware that there's an opportunity window of months, literally in terms of months, that this opportunity window will not stand forever and wait for ecosystems to just wake up eventually and be able to compete. I think, again, just restating, game have changed. We need to adapt, and the reason why most of the companies die, generally speaking, in any domain, it's because they fail to adapt. Is because they fail to acknowledge that the everything changes around. So I'm just thinking, it's common sense what I'm thinking, but good to be stated.
Looking back, and this question is for you, Ben, but Lucian also, don't hesitate. What were the biggest resource allocation mistakes you and the foundation made, and what did you learn from them? I ask you this question because we spoke a lot about mistake on the last interview. I want to make like a bridge from the last time we publicly spoke.
One, we wanted to explore always the US even faster, but the regulatory landscape was not there. So only now the regulatory landscape is there. Trying new things faster, that's what I would have changed or would do now much faster. Even if it's difficult, the only way to grow is through trying. The default path is that. For every project, the default path with sitting is just that. So if I would just do this, faster moving in the US in some sense would have been a premium of 100x on everything we build. There's no discussion for me. Like if there's only one thing that I would focus on, taking Lucian and a few of the brilliant people we have and just going to the US, we would not stop until we conquer that, except with the wrong administration, we might not have survived too long, right? But this is what I have learned, and this is what I have spent so much time in the US right now, because I believe that's the way that everything will move faster. You can see it in how they do business, how fast they move, how hungry they are. And I'm not saying something new, right? People probably know this. Lucian.
I'll build on this again, Ben. Sorry for inviting me to answer this question as well, but for both of Ben's here. But I think there's a principle. Mostly, in general, any kind of capital allocation, you will look like a fool, like literally a big idiot until you make it. And every bet I think we took, maybe sometimes it was ahead of time. Maybe, and I will point one that I think it was ahead of time, but I also will put out one that I think is just in time. And if I look at the one at ahead of time, I would say metaverse experiences and maybe X Worlds was one of the technology, just to put something here on the table and state it. I think the reason why it was a misallocated capital, but also very fast capped to once we have experienced and experimented with the best companies and the best partners at that time to see if there's a way to create wealth creation engines. And the way we've, after trying and creating the first worlds ourselves to demo the product, we figured out that 90% of the capital used would have not translated to reusable components that could be placed for the community. Now, this is just to put something on the table and acknowledging something. Now, if I look at the other bets, and I look at, for example, stable coins, acquiring a payment processor, a MiCA-regulated entity 4 years ago, and waiting and being lucky to be alive and stay alive and rebuild everything, and then being close to that, also with that, because of the market shifts and the efforts needed, I think mostly we look like idiots. But now, if I look at that, only the last weeks we announced, I think on that a round of 21 million, which I don't want to build and elaborate too much on that. But on the foundation, because I'm driving it back, MultiversX owns the majority of those kind of bets, and those translates now, as of today, to 10 plus years runway. Now, this is something I think that people should understand. Prior to the funding round, or prior to any kind of this validation on the products, this 10 years runway would have sounded a lot crazier. But I think today you can just make the calculation on the statement that we made on the runway. So pausing here again.
I have 2 more questions for the big picture stuff. MultiversX has always focused on tech, like sharding, speed, architecture. Why shift focus now to economics?
Because one thing we've learned in the US, right? The US was never the most brilliant at technology alone, right? The US brought and collaborated and attracted the top minds from other parts of the world to do technology. But what does the US brilliantly do better than maybe
Business.
any other part of the world? Business, right? Economics, finance, the financial engineering on top of the technology engineering is what I believe will make this time very, very different. Lucian?
Yes, I think, and you're bringing very good to the next point. Actually, I sense that we're soon transitioning to the next chapter and looking at that. I'll start with something that giving a bit of insight on that. We've been talking with the largest stablecoin issuers, and then they were reviewing different ecosystem. And then actually at the funny enough, at the All In Summit, one of the guys actually sat with me. We sat for a drink and then chatted a bit how they are looking at an ecosystem when they're doing the due diligence process. And there was something that was usually everybody's aware that people look at TVL, right? What's your TVL of the chain? And then we will prioritize and of course commission you accordingly to be prioritized in that sense. But for the first time, it reminded me again of something that I was not aware. And he pointed, what's the economic value of the ecosystem? And the economic value was actually, it's a factor of TVL plus the velocity of the funds. And the velocity of the money will gives you actually the entire flywheel, how much of a revenue is being generated at any point or every stop through the ecosystem until the user is being served. Right. Just pausing here, and I think it's coming closer to the next chapter.
Yeah, we're almost entering the next chapter right now. Chat, if you have any question, it's right now. We'll take 2 or 3 questions from the chat. Guys, I don't read Romanian. I've seen some question in Romanian, but I can't read it. So if you think the question are like good to answer, tell me. I'll pin them. But yeah, maybe. Do you have a token rebrand in the pipes?
This is a good question. We'll think about it.
This is a good question. Okay, if you have any question, even that you put before, put them back. I don't want to get up. Yeah, I can't read that. So.
Vision adoption. Cum pot conecta cu tine? Please write me a note on Twitter via DM.
Okay.
Thank you.
No, we're not gonna be speaking about other coin right now, guys. So this we're gonna see it in a minute. Okay. I get the feeling, and I don't mean to criticize them since I'm part of the project, but it seems like they're very care much more about the price and the investor than about developing a solid blockchain. What can you answer to that?
I mean, we've been developing the most solid blockchain in the world for the last crazy 7 years. And the biggest critique was never that we've not built a solid blockchain. The biggest critique was, you've built the best blockchain. Why is the economics not flying? That was the thing. So, Lucian.
Yeah. I think particularly to that, we can do a deep dive on sharding and why I think with Supernova, one-shot finality and one-shot finality and sub-second finality, or 600 milliseconds, and down the road 400 and 200 milliseconds with parallelized execution and parallelized blockchains do make sense, and I would love to talk about that. Don't get me wrong, but today we're here and making the changes because people want to hear us actually showing that we care about that. And I think also legally speaking, the macro sentiment and framework changed, and I think it's very much the time to talk about this. I think prior to that, there was a very strict policy on not talking, not showing that you're implying that you are actually going to do anything for a price. Don't talk about price. Don't show that you're actually doing it, or assume talk about anything else, and then people will eventually understand that the price will go up. Well, that doesn't work anymore, and I think US sets us a precedent that we need to adapt. Otherwise, the capital will go again there. And I'll ask also a question: why does the almost world capital, all the countries actually trade US stocks? Why the hell? Sorry to put it like that, but I mean, there's a particular reason, because people know that they will talk about money, and they have a very clear interest of their investors of making it succeed. Now, I think this is about to shift or a change, and we do care about that as well.
Okay, last question. We're gonna speak about investor and funding a little after, guys. Okay, I like this one. In your opinion, what are MultiversX competitive advantages that will enable you to succeed in the US market, where competition is very strong? Ethereum, Solana, other layer ones, regulation, institutional adoption? Question mark.
There's 3 layers that we look at. One, Supernova makes this one of the fastest in the world, in addition to being the scalable and decentralized blockchain that people know. So sub-seconds finality means that, boom, any kind of interaction is done. And you can also do the scalability part. We've called this the fiber channel for finance. Why? Because it's very intuitive once you think about it, that the financial space actually requires a kind of fiber network that works at the speed that the internet wants. In addition to that, the economics model that we're putting in place enables both the internal network mechanics and the external demand to be pulled into the ecosystem in a very competitive and attractive way. And then with Supernova, we're also going to showcase some use cases that we've been showing glimpse at, but are going to be demonstrated. Lucian?
Yes. Look, I think if we look at the checklist, there are 2 points here. There are investors that want to go for low risk, so to say, and they will bet on the already existing top participants. That's, I think, the safe bet. If I look at the most ambitious entrepreneurs, and especially the ones that want to make a big bet, they usually don't take the most obvious bet. Why? Like, people do invest in Bitcoin. It's good. But that's not the one that actually... in short term, people tend to believe that it will do a 10x. Now, if I look particularly at from that particular landscape and look what it takes to win and compare it to those companies, this is what we're talking about today, and we'll be talking about today. On the technical side, I think we'll have the superiority, or at least equivalent of the peak what's possible. And secondly, if I look at the macro and vehicles where the liquidity will fly in, and being mindful to that, there will come, translating where the liquidity comes into Bitcoin, and why the growth happened is particularly through that and ETFs. Now, if I can merge those 2 crazy points and have a baby on that, I will call it Supernova, and I will call it with this kind of upgrades that we're talking about today. I hope this comes closer to the question.
Let's change the team. If you guys have questions, keep them for the next timing for the questions. So we're going to speak now about inflation, scarcity, and trust. I have a few questions. Maybe would you like to tell us more about this new improved tokenomics upcoming?
I would just add something, please, Lucian.
No, please. If I could walk you through a bit if you want, but feel free first.
I will just add one key element. We believe that there are 2 fundamental versions of looking at economics. There's a European version where you just do something and wait for something to happen, and then there's an American version where you understand you cannot wait for something to happen. You understand that you need to oil the
Make it
business.
happen.
You need to make it happen. You need to go out, get the first customers, get them in, sell them, and make them make transactions. And you understand that this is common sense, right? We're not stating something extraordinary here. We're just stating that this has been what the US has been doing as a playbook for years in startups, in business, and now in blockchain as well. We have been not doing it, and we did not understand how the game worked on that front. So what has changed is we've moved from a static, just pure scarcity-based model to a dynamic, growth-driven, demand-driven model. That's the essence of what we're doing.
I have question about it. Okay, let's jump right now. So I read the proposition. The model start with a max inflation of 8.75%. If I'm you tell me if I'm wrong, decaying to 2 to 5% based on on-chain KPIs. We're speaking about staking, DeFi, burns. My question here is, what happens if those KPIs fail? For 2 or 3 quarters? Does the inflation stay high, or does it self-correct?
So
It self-corrects.
maybe, yeah, it's self-correct. We also we please, Benny.
Please, Lucian.
Sorry.
Please, no. Please go a bit because I think you wanted to add a few points. The self-correction, I think, is clear. But
I'm wondering, Benny, if we should go through the entire model, just highlight or at least build the case. I'm not sure how many.
Yes, 2-3 points. I think that's crucial.
Yeah. So I think just going a bit on the buckets. I think generally speaking, with the way I would look at the new proposed inflation is indeed it's a tail inflation. However, I would decouple this to 3 phases. One of the phases is the stimulus year, I would say. So this is very easily to be understood that the tail inflation represents the end result and is the upper ceiling, but it should not consider or should not be priced on the stimulus year. Then there's the transition year, where all these measurements will be highly and rigorously reviewed, even thoroughly, to see what makes sense, what worked. And this could be also during the stimulus years. Everything is still being reviewed, just to set this clear. And then there's the tail inflation, where the flywheel assumptions are actually being validated, and the inflation should go down towards I think even 2%. Right now, how does the 8 point? Let me just get the final number again.
But the point here, I think, is more like we'll not wait for many years until we update.
Yes.
We look at the things, try things, see what works, and adapt. This is the new model. The new model should be very much adaptive, on our feet, where we see what works and then refine it further so that we bet even better on what works with targeted KPIs and so on.
Exactly on that, actually, I was saying that actually also just to point back to the previous statement, that I almost don't believe in long term of that, and particularly why I don't believe in that in long term until we see short term progress of any kind of metric that we're looking. There's no point to debate that 2% at the end. It's good that is built in, but we're aiming for that. But
KPIs first.
KPIs first. Now, going back a bit to why I think there's and I think just splitting the high level maybe in as short as possible. The entire inflation actually is split in 2 buckets. One of the buckets is actually paid for direct stake incentives, which is the security of the network, which why we're changing this, and this is a fundamental change compared to what we initially had, which was targeted and fast-tracked for 10 years compared to Bitcoin, what it has actually to 100 years. Why do we had to deal with these problems? If we would have changed or set the model for 100 years, most likely we would have not been alive, nor me and Beniamin, nor the fund.
I think I would have been alive, but it would not have been a problem for the first 50 years.
Indeed. Now, looking back to accelerating that, and where the state where, for example, Elrond started, we had 32% APR at the beginning. Now, today, we're seeing a lot of the decreasing stake or participation of stake inside the network, which is, I think, the one of the biggest elephants in the room why the price is decreasing. And people tend to say yes, no, but the rewards are being sold. I don't think that the rewards are the problem. The entire stake, let me put it straight, the entire stake is being sold at this point because there is a bigger upside and bigger interest or more competitive stuff somewhere else. Investors are smart, but people are smart, and actually they migrate to whatever there are better incentives. Now, if we consider that there's a market shift right now, this is why we're aligning this and putting 17% or up to 17% in total rewards for active participants in the network that will spin the flywheel. Now, I'm just pausing here and again letting you, Ben, grab the conversation. I would love to pitch the entire paper here again, but we did that for a week.
You guys call this productive scarcity, right? But at current TVL and volumes, does the productive value really offset inflation, or is it still net inflationary?
At the current, we cannot account these new values that will happen, will be activated in any way if the numbers are the same. So there's a contradiction there. So there's a very little delta until once you activate new incentives, assuming that there will be nothing changing in terms of new liquidity, more volumes, and that sense. Actually, it's an almost invalid statement, and I tell you that why. In order to attract and get the liquidity from the second bucket of the inflation, which is the boosted, so-called boosted rewards, that means that people have already to participate in liquid stake. That means volumes again, or conversion of and velocity. And then that liquid stake needs to be placed into DeFi strategies such as LPing with stable coins, which again drives more action into the chain. So hard to answer something assuming that you get plus and nothing and zero.
Understood. Will the community have an on-chain dashboard to verify emission and burn data in real time?
Yes, 100%.
100%?
Yes, 100%.
Maybe let me build towards on that one second. I think also for the community, I think what changed since we started the proposal, I think the community and the input has been tremendous in terms of safeguarding the investor or safeguarding the participants. And safeguarding the participants means particularly the governance tools and the procedures of deploying this kind of funds and taking the safety measurement tools on applying the KPIs and burning the funds if they're unnecessary or ineligible to be deployed into any of the strategies. So on any of the inflationary points that we are proposing, all of them are safeguarded. All of them are safeguarded. And repeating this, if they are not achieving their KPIs, those funds don't exist. They won't happen.
Who updates the parameters? DAO, Foundation, core team?
So we split the governance. We propose for the review of the process. There will be a DAO format of seats, part of the seats from the foundation, part of the seats of elected specialists or capable people to review, for example, DeFi activities that are safeguarding the procedure, and then also there's X Alliance involved that will be safeguarding with and representing with their part. Again, and making a statement, the proposal is not done yet. We're just 1 week down the road and still shaping this, but as of today, this is part of it.
How long time have you guys been working on this? A long time.
Pardon me?
How long have we been working on this?
So in some sense, we've mentioned something like 2 years in research, then a lot of conversations. But the point was that we've reached, let's say, about 6 months ago, we sort of reached a version where we started debating versions of the models internally, like very in-depth, very detailed. We had a few versions of the paper where we debated for months, one version, then different version, then different version. But I think we are right now at a very good point with the feedback received from the community and with the model that we have right now shared with the people and the entire community.
Okay. Other question about this. The old model promised a fixed supply. This one doesn't. What's your message to long-term holders who feel maybe this can break the social contract?
So I would add 2 points. First, the assumption of the scarcity model was that it should take off, right? That was the entire point. If it would have taken off with all the breakthroughs, technology steps, everything we've delivered, we would not have changed anything. If everyone would have been a millionaire and the EGLD ecosystem would have been in top 10, top 5, top 3, then we'd have not changed anything. Since we are not happy where it is, and we are making some of the best breakthroughs in terms of technical step, it is very important that we actually give it a chance to succeed in terms of financial engineering, economic engineering. And this is why we are forced, actually, for the good of those investors, for the good of the builders, the people who have been with us, to give it the best we can. And we believe, one, no change will be done without full governance, without dialogue, conversations, and so on, that we've spent now weeks on to share the context and so on. And I believe the social contract is upheld at the highest level when you have dialogue, when you have open, transparent governance, and you make sure that people engage and are part of this conversation. I see, Lucian, you wanted to add something.
Yes, and I have a question for you, Ben. Curious how you see it. Like when you're in the front seat and you do everything in your power for years in a row, and you see some stuff don't work and are about to crash bad, and there's no way to steer the ship by not making a big change. Would you abandon the ship and say, fuck it, sorry for the put it like this, and I will go and build something else? Or would you face and decide to take the measures that are needed and stay invested and align with everything you have built the last 7 years by your life? Curious and pausing here, because this is the social contract.
The answer, how the way you ask it, it's very easy to answer. Yeah, I'll shift whatever the heck I need to change and try my best. Definitely. Yeah, there's no question about that.
Yeah, and I also very much understand and think a bit like this. The way I would put it in simple words: you see a car going 300 miles an hour towards a bridge, and it's about to fall or hit the bridge full speed.
You have to turn the wheel.
Then I again,
the question was not like against you guys.
No,
it was like a legit question. A lot of investors can ask.
I take it with, and I'm just walking through what I'm feeling and seeing from the driver's seat of the car. It's very well intended, and I very much appreciate the question, to be honest. But the only way to help everybody understand a bit is my way of reasoning is giving you the lens we are looking at. We're giving you a bit of the seat and the view that we are seeing, and this is the best way of building a community. People don't want conclusions. I don't think that even they do want conclusions if they are winning. If not, definitely not.
Last question. the new fee market, so it's base plus priority, clearly mirrors the Ethereum EIP 1559. Is the goal to eventually compete with Ethereum on fee mechanics and sustainability?
I would say that I love that Ethereum definitely does do something in some respect, but I would say that there is no competition in terms of technology, and I'm still trying to be honest here. With Supernova, we're going to crush Ethereum like there's no tomorrow, and I have big respect for Ethereum, right? Don't get me wrong. I
That's
think
big words,
Ethereum
huh?
is, yeah, that's Ethereum. I have big respect for Ethereum. Ethereum will have a place, but I mean sharding with Supernova. The on the other hand, I do say Ethereum has done many things that are in principle good and smart and wise, from which we can learn. And I believe that is wise to do. And for us, again, we're more thinking about it implementing market dynamics on top of the chain. This is the US mindset again. If you wait for communism and everything is the same, it will not work.
Go in France. Sorry.
Yeah, it will not work for whoever has not lived the previous generation to see an experiment with communism. It's hard to understand. But actually, when you see this kind of economics experiments with US trying different experiments, US blockchains, and then other people trying other experiments, you can clearly see which has taken off. And it's important to learn. There's many things that you need to reinvent, but some things you just need to learn because they are in front of you.
So yeah, I understand, but sometimes technology, as we say in the beginning of the live, technology isn't enough. Like, okay, guys, let's say I agree with you. You guys have the best technology, no problem with that, 100%. Why isn't it taking off yet?
The thing with the fee market, and then I'll let Lucian continue. The thing with the priority market is that this doesn't come alone. This comes with the incentives that will create an entire supply chain of transactions that will be executed to every player that will be in the ecosystem. What does this economics model create? It creates revenue on the network. Why? Because the US understands revenue. Whenever they look at the network, if they understand the revenue, the network will be valued at a price multiple on top of the revenue. Then it's very straightforward for anyone that has any kind of background for the stock markets. How do you value this blockchain? Why has it value? What type of revenue does it have? How do you compare it with other fiber networks for finance, right? It's very tangible, it's very concrete. And once you look at it like this, it almost, my only question is, even for ourselves, how come it has not been done faster, right? It's not, does this make sense? Of course it makes sense, but now we want to put it in motion as fast as possible, because with that type of incentive structure, and that type of mechanics between the fee and prioritization, you can make a revenue. The validators make new revenue, the builders make new revenue, and the network has a larger pie for the entire economic value that it creates.
Lucian, you wanted to say something?
Thank you. I didn't want to hijack here. For once in a life, I'm waiting my turn here. So maybe and going back to the point where I there's one thing that I've been reflecting a lot, which I put personally almost on me first when I look at the success of the network, and especially then reflecting of generally of the industry. Think about like this: on the one hand, you build a protocol, and you have a protocol which is intent is a goal is to collect and spend as much of the currencies or coins that are in the circulation, right? On the other hand, almost protocols give themselves a bunch of coins to spend and use them for the usage for development, and especially to drive usage inside the product. If we, at the end of many years, and this is the general problem of blockchains, after so many years, we say there is no adoption to the blockchains where we gave ourselves most of the coins, it's literally on us. It's literally, I would say, a problem that we ourselves have not managed to treat it. Now, and I'll state a second point, and because I think it's also critical. Given that we have a state where there are two data centers in the world, right? You have AWS, you have two data centers. Both of them are prepaid. The entire infrastructure is prepaid for an entire year. On the one, you have a strategy where you just allow client by client to come arbitrary at the will of their need eventually, and so forth. And on the other hand, given that you have full payout for the infrastructure for a year ahead, what do you think would be will drive more growth? Subsidizing and betting on companies that will eventually get product market fit and will be able to maintain their usage after 1 year, or keeping the chain and burning the utility or the energy of that data centers for nothing. I don't want the nothing one, and I don't believe anymore in arbitrary growth. I think it's time that we take some measures and then just go again full blast on that.
Okay, understood. Just caution when you speak very close to the mic.
Sorry.
It get a little bit like.
Thank you very much. Sorry, I'll relax again and go back.
Don't worry, guys. It's question time. We're gonna take a 2-minute break right now. We are kind of at the middle of the theme.
Oh.
So put your question. We'll have a 2-minute, very very quick break, and we'll answer the question and continue the interview. Okay, let's see you back in 2 minutes, guys.
Yeah. Ouais. Drama life, crypto daily, toujours. Yeah. Ouais. Drama life, crypto daily, toujours gratos, toujours quali. Trop de blabla, trop de jalousie, mais personne n'arrête dragon. Crypto drinks, on trinque, on parle vrai. Y'a pas de micro scoopé, pas de langue de bois, ça débat, ça clash, mais toujours carré. Ici c'est du lourd, pas du blabla. Crypto chance, Satoshi en pluie. On balance du vrai pendant qu'il m'en dit. 1 million pour les vrais OG. Eux cherchent des vues, mais personne clique. Ils voulaient régner, mais ça prend pas. Ils ont tenté l'anglais, même là-bas c'est plat. Ils vendent des newsletters, mais personne n'achète. La sardine voulait nager, elle s'est noyée net. Y'en a qui se prennent pour des grizzlies. Panda viens ici, mange ton bambou. Y'a un an t'as sorti des screens, je disais rien de sombre mais t'as vu tout en zoom. Même toi tu sais plus pourquoi c'était si grand. À l'époque t'étais sûr, maintenant tu sais plus. Quand je garde par rancune, je regarde les parties. Chaque semaine aux échecs, je te fais plier le king. Canard on a tourné, 2 fois t'as validé. Mais quand c'est parti en vrille, t'as tout enterré. Peur t'as commu, peur du bac et la chasse skip, y'a des dossiers à Malte. Mais bizarrement aux soirées t'es là, toujours premier pour trinquer avec moi. Quand faut profiter t'es jamais absent, jamais absent. Mais quand faut poster t'as plus d'arguments.
We're back. So some question we had earlier that I've pinned. What about native stablecoins?
Lucian, please.
So There are two parts. One, we are waiting actually in short for final approval from the national bank. The filing has been done, from what I know. But from what I know, and then I'll stop. Actually, I figured out that I should not answer all the details from other companies. But
Like,
actually,
Off the
that,
record.
that, that's why
says an answer that's off the record.
that's why also I love lives, because sometimes just shit just happen like this, and yeah, okay, that's sad, but it happened. It's okay.
Yeah.
Don't
No,
worry.
so the filing has been done for, I think, 3 months already. It's been sitting with the national bank. They actually have no right to deny this. But just to give a bit of clarity, there is, as long as you have a EMI license, that the license implies that you already have the rights to issue an electronic, that's e-money, electronic money. License, in simple words, for everybody to understand, and that license already allows you to do that. So in simple words, we've been very careful with and cautious to be actually fully compliant, and have invested a shit ton of money and also a shit ton of energy and complianceness on making this a bulletproof scenario. Why this? I think there's a bigger play, being just X Money themselves being the issuer. I might just put it like this: what if this license and the framework could be used actually to help other participants that will be interested on issuing? Now, in order to do that, we want to make sure that, and I think Q4 should be a hyperly optimistic case.
Yep. Best to not give necessarily time frames, but I would just state three things. One, X Money has been backed by some of the biggest players in the space. It will bring a native stablecoin to us and many others in the world. And then this is an extraordinary milestone that we're super excited about.
I'll just say one more thing. Besides actually having being actually invested on that, there's one detail on that, by the way, for Europe, because we're talking here mostly, most of our audience, I think, it's from Europe. There's a big fundamental shift when it comes to stable, or difference when it comes to Europe versus US. And the biggest difference, and the elephant in the room, which I hope will not translate to be true, is, on the one hand, US solves again, as we started, I think, the discussion, US solves their national debt problem through stable coins, putting stable coins and distributing their national debt worldwide. Now, this is a bull case.
That is actually a very smart move. One of the best.
That's one. Maybe. That's a multiple $1 trillion move, just to put it like that.
Financial engineering, US, right? Before everything.
Now going back to what's the reality in Europe, I'm almost ashamed to say that there's a politic agenda where CBDC wants to actually kill every innovation in here, and the surveillance era starts with actually owning people's money and full control by the government. I mean, again, I'm getting my smile. My smile don't go easily off, but this is I don't have good words to say about this. I'll rather go to the next question.
Don't worry. Next, for the cross chain, do you have any news from Axelar, and what about also MVX cross compatibility? Let's answer those two questions in the sentence.
Yes.
I'll be.
Let me say 2-3 points. One, we've had 1,000 conversations with Axelar. We've done everything on our part. We have a contractual agreement with them that should have been delivered up until this point. We've created everything from our part that is related to the integration, that is related to supporting them, that is related to offering them all the possible help in the world to get this done. Now, I sure hope it gets done. This is all I will. This is all I will say. We've also gotten all the heat on ourselves, because you know how it is with business. Like, you put something in, you put everything you can, and you usually don't discuss this type of things public. But now we've shared some context on even the last 6 months, the last 3 months. We've been pinging the guys every day, myself and Lucian, because this is how the business actually works. You get something, and then you say, yeah, but this, I don't like this, right? It's one deal and so on. And now you get to see a bit behind the scenes. So who has done the stuff? What's missing? What's the timeline? I still hope we'll see this happening, but that's a bit my 2 cents. And Lucian, feel free to add.
This
your
is a
thought.
very good context building, because I think on principle, what was not obvious for everybody, the way we operate in the sense that we usually don't throw people under the bus. We take full responsibility, and even though it is against our cost, usually because we value our relations and the way we wish people would interact with us when something doesn't go well, we wish that there is, and generally speaking, the world and the earth and the society has a bit of flexibility for things to go right or left. And this is actually why this kind of diplomacy is being a general principle in business. Now, going back and stressing the fact that even with XLR, and I'll just build on that, we added an engineering team to the XLR development path. We were one of the leading implementations ever since they started the new technology stack. Our engineering team, designated engineering team, has been leading the integration and have helped and gave feedback on the implementation and the architecture on XLR. We brought also XLR on the stage when they were at XDay, when they were in very much need of attention. We invested heavily, and not invested only in engineering, but also invested in any possible way in best faith for them to deliver, and also signed and made sure that we have a contract agreement for making them and helping them deliver. Now, the last point is us inviting ourselves in their company to literally get the things to production, which I also, by the way, propose them to do, just to be very, very transparent on that. Now, if things don't move, I hope this has the clarity for everybody that you know where to ask more details for this one.
Okay, thank you. If you do you have something you want to add about the last team, or can we go to the next one?
Which team?
The second team was about the inflation, the scarcity, the trust.
I think we can go to the flywheel, because
I'll just highlight the one thing. I think the core principle that everybody should take for this. If I look for investors, participants on the network, this is very much the first bucket is for them. If I look then secondly for builders, the builders have again a flywheel built in where they will get through incentives program that are
and I have a lot of question about that.
Yes, that are well aligned and KPI for meaningful utility brought on chain, that they will capture a part of the revenue back from that smart contract distribution. And then on top of that, actually, there's also an acceleration program that we want to incentivize builders to bring application on chain. We also have, in this case, a clear path for builders to migrate. So if you're independent builder, that you have a community and a meaningful computational process that you're using in other chains, think about that, bridging it to MultiversX and bridging your users to MultiversX. You have clearly a direct an incentive model to do that, and you're subsidized to do that, right? And your users now. Just closing the loop, and then going then for the validators. I think the validators as well have finally, I think, through the fee market, and because there are clear incentives to filling the block space that we have. I think there's clear path actually filling that block space, and then also having priority markets where they will generate a different income stream for validators, having an independent stream from cashing actually on the user's rewards. So this is very important, because what we don't want to end up on, I think, to also validators being fully dependent on users' rewards. And I think with this, we just close the flywheel entirely, and then we have the entire process on that.
The flywheel, the builders, the user, the revenue. It's a big point of your plans, of your plan. Sorry, you're giving away 90% of base fees to builders. Let's say the truth. It's one of the boldest allocation in the industry. I've never seen something like that. How do you prevent a few dominant DApps or bots from capturing all the rewards?
So I think there are two parts. First, the incentives. So there are two parts of the rewards. First, if you have a dominant user base and you have meaningful adoption, you're either way actually collecting only your own usage. Secondly, as long as you have, for example, an external account or external wallet. So, for example, the passkey wallets with multi-sigs, even though if they call a smart contract in the chain of supply of executing a batch of transactions, each of the usability or usage of each of the smart contracts will be allocated to each of the smart contracts, and not through the only first one that calls. So, for example, you have a DeFi aggregator. When you're calling that DeFi aggregator, the aggregator contract gets a piece, that the smart contracts on the swaps gets a piece, and then the entire chain of supply is actually broken down on that. Now, this has nothing to do with incentives. Just to clarify, this is pure user funds that are prepaying for transactions. Now, there's a second bucket, which is actually the one that is subsidizing or incentivizing user actions or applications or builder to have a superior user experience. Now, think about the example that I was saying before. Foundations and protocol print 100% at the start of the game of their entire the tokens, like a bucket of 100%. And after so many years, we're saying, yes, we don't have users, we do have a shitty user experience, and then the coins are gone exchanged against dollar. Then literally shame on us. So to put it like this, I mean, what the hell are those coins made for, unless to be spent on chain and literally to bring the superiority in terms of user experience, to bring the users on chain, and not first care about the 2 cents of a dollar when we interact with. So again, this, and also all those metrics are safeguarded by the DAO to verify the eligibility of those applications, and then also to verify and safeguard by limits, putting some thresholds. For example, definitely if an application is just spamming the network, that should not, and that's not the case. So closing the loop, a lot of information. Feel free to
study more.
Ask more. Don't shoot the messenger, Benny.
I have a question. So yeah, the new model is going to focus heavily on builders and user incentive and all. Okay, but where do we stand today in terms of active application? Do you have number daily users, developer activity, etc. on MultiversX?
Yes, so there is a good metric actually I've shared I use actually before going into economics, I used to share only developer activity on Twitter. Now it seems that I needed to change my agenda as well. I now that you're asking, it seems that my metrics are a bit outdated, but I have just shared yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just bring up a picture here. Maybe it works. This one
you can share your screen.
Yes, just a second. Trying to just bring it here. Just making sure that I'm
Sharing the right screen.
no. let me bring this one. I think this one is a good metric. This is very new, and this is also very realistic. So there are multiple metrics. One in terms of protocol development that you guys see that the EGLD is literally top 5, top 10 worldwide, generally speaking, by
Almost
developer
every week.
activity. Almost every week, and that's constantly for a very long time. MultiversX, I think it's also top 5 in terms of development activity on from the foundation perspective and the MultiversX itself. But here is also, let me just maybe just zoom in. Even today, if we look at the developer ecosystem, developer activity compared to where it stands, it's next to near Aptos, and
big names.
a lot better than ICP, Stellar, Flow, and so forth. So it's hard, and the haters will still hate that. And it's also for builders very painful in the trenches, just to put it like that. Actually, being one of the builders when everything is not succeeding is painful, but nevertheless, I think even though it's so hard, people are still coming to MultiversX to steal stuff. Just to put it like this. There's, and by the way, just to say a joke, in Romania they tend to say that is the most wealthiest country in the world. Since 2000 years, people still out of that country, and there's still a lot left to be stolen. just to make a bit of jokes. But if I look at the quality of, for example, I was just looking compared to other ecosystems on the quality, for example, of the DeFi application. For example, there's Hatom in terms of implementation that, technically speaking, they do have a lot of Soxno. Again, I'm not sure if you guys have played with the Soxno DeFi. I think it's superior than 99% of what we have in the industry. I think, again, many of the stuff that we have built on chain were highly optimized for not driving useless activity, and were optimized in a European way to not.
We were purists, right? We were principled, the saints that do everything by the book and so on. And then we discovered that actually we were the only ones playing that game, and everyone else was learning to play a different game, where in essence, the conclusion is you want to have people that literally build everything on the network, that even try to hijack your metrics, because this is how you improve them. If no one comes to hijack your metrics and tries to attack them and so on, you will never improve them. So we're actually at the point where with Supernova, this is what we intend to do, to take people in to actually test some of the limits of what this network can deliver in terms of value.
Let's speak about numbers. You project, you tell me if I'm wrong, between $5 to $7K a day in protocol revenue soon. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry. Today we're about $60 per day. What are the key levers to you guys are looking at to realistically reach that?
Look, the point for everything that we're doing in economics is very much investment for something, right? And if I take staking, people think about staking in terms of reward. No, staking is the investment in new liquidity coming to the network. Builders rewards are not builders rewards. They're an investment in the revenue generation that will happen on the network. The DAT, for instance, as a conversation, is just an investment in a new bucket that will drive demand, that will drive buybacks, and that will create a micro strategy for EGLD. So we're thinking very pragmatically in terms of economics, where I take a bucket. What I want to see is, what's the investment in that bucket? What's the outcome? And so for your question, the investment in the revenue and the builders' rewards is directly linked to what we're going to see as a kind of 10x. This is the first step, like a 10x compared to what we have right now. I think we'll go much higher, but achieving a 10x will be a very important validation that actually this works, and it brings the right kind of builders to build.
Okay.
Maybe going back to metrics. I shared the screen. I'm not sure if you can bring this up, because this is very, very interesting, right? I'm going to token terminal and just go to the efforts put, especially because I think people also need to remember that we're very much in for the tech. And even though there was a shitty market and everybody was putting and saying, yes, things are not performing monetary wise, but we never stopped, and never stopped in terms of developing and evolving, and being today at the point where saying being on top of many other Polkadot, Injective, Sui, and being the fourth in a 3-year metric, I think tells enough. I don't need to just go
No.
more.
This on that, guys. Yeah, definitely. You guys never stop working for the longest time and longest run. Maybe I can say this. I have no problem. Let's to be honest, if you guys have stopped working or be less, like, I don't know, opening other project on the thing, I would not have received you today. That's because I know you guys never stopped,
and we would not have
trying.
come. And we would not have come.
Definitely.
Well, what about this here?
So about that, I have nothing to add, and just say, like, how can I say it? Yeah, just like a bravo for continuing and kept working on it, even though sometimes mistakes are made and decisions are finally not the good ones. But no.
And look, we're treating this as job is not done. This is why we're here, and this is why we're ramping up things, right? We're not saying, hey, we've retired and now we're discussing about it. We're saying the biggest upgrade since Elrond is coming, and that's Supernova. And with that, this is why we're also doing the economics. Coming back to the questions and the conversation.
I want to speak a little bit about the DAO structure. 30%
DAT structure or DAO structure? DAT
DAO
structure.
DAO. The DAT will come on the last team. 30% foundation, 30% X Alliance, and the rest is 40% holders, right?
Yes.
How can regular holders have, let's say, a real voice and not a symbolic one?
This is, I think, very much to the functioning process of the DAO, right? I think on the one hand, through the voting, so EGLD voting, staked EGLD voting would voting power. Yeah, I mean, definitely.
So they should buy more EGLD is the simple answer.
Okay.
No. I'll let you, this is more like a joke. Lucian, please continue, because the point is, anyone that has a stake, right, has a voice. And my joke was, actually, if they want a larger voice, they should just buy a larger stake.
No, I think the message is clear. I think, again, this is to be frank, this is very much under development process. I think the bigger elephant in the room was actually defining the variables, the bigger chunks of the variables, and going through that. Who controls? I think it's very much important, but we need to have something to control first, and that was the reasoning around it.
No problem. Still about the DAO and the fund usage. Can you confirm that there will be also public on-chain reports for each quarter or month or whatever, showing where the token were spent and how many are locked, and etc.?
Yes. So look, there's one transparency, just to put it and saying it out loud. I submitted, so we there's a first or a good transparency report actually in the works as we speak for the year that we have had, and with just highlighting and putting in context everything that we have announced and stated through different channels. So I hope this one is very, very soon to go out. A first step. Now, secondly, I very much understood, especially after the proposal was out, without the safeguards, because we were focusing on mostly getting the right parameters, the entire flywheel actually working on the system, and not actually thinking at the brakes. So in simple words, from the beginning, this was very much reminded of how much of importance is for the community, and that we should not forget about this stuff, and especially in the light of the missing safeguards. But the safeguards now have been added. We are very much aware of the need and importance of this, and also working already on the first one to kick it off.
And 2 points that I would add is one, we've added actually a great update that I've shared in the US Foundry session, which is just for people to have a kind of number in mind. We've optimized cost 75%. So we've cut cost 75% compared to what we had, for instance, last year. And we're now at the point where we're on average delivering 10 times faster with 10 times less cost. So in essence, a kind of effectiveness against the top team in the world, where we're beating them both in terms of delivery and in terms of cost. This is just to point out the things that we've been pushing on, and this we've updated on. I've mentioned, I think 6 months ago, that we were something like 50% with optimizations and cuts, and now we're at 75%, and that is like a great milestone that we're proud of, that we're delivering on while pushing for Supernova, right? We did not stop, we did not close shop. We are in fact pushing super hard to deliver on that milestone, while at the same time being as nimble and rapid as possible.
I'll just build in that one sentence. I think also there are a few stuff that I'm actually looking forward towards, such as I think we're gonna have soon the first products that are not limited to Web3 industry, and that they will serve for the purpose of developing the Web3 industry. So for the first time, I think having a revenue stream for the foundation and for the lab structure that is non-dependent to Web3 is something very unique to get
Wow.
and build.
Scary and concerning.
Do you have a date you can give us? Don't look at Ben. Don't look at Ben, Lucian. Look at me. Look at me. Don't look at Ben.
Let's put hopefully.
You know, Ben can just disappear, and it's just you and
don't get Beniamin out of the screen.
I'm the captain now. Good one.
Okay,
so hopefully
tell us more about this.
I would say that Beniamin blink 2 times if I should not say.
Well, hopefully with Supernova we should have something, right?
Yeah. Guys, I have a last question before the question time. So chat, if you have any question you want to ask, it's right now. I'm going to read it right after my last question. Let's talk about the token price a little bit. So the new model claims to straighten EGLD price with buybacks, burns, etc. In simple terms, how and when will they start to positively affect the market value?
Lucian, feel free to take this one.
I have to ask those questions to you guys.
Sure.
Yes. So I'll start maybe just with the elephant in the room. People were looking, for example, what DATs, for example, DAT or any of those vehicles. So understanding the in principles, how it works. There are two moments. There are people that say, yeah, but it needs to cross that amount, or in actually you would say understanding what it does and how it functions, you would want to say, let me buy before these vehicles goes out and start the machine actually. So those are the two types of people, or the two types of investors. Also thinking about it, would you rather buy into a coin that is aligned to the market, to the updated market requirements, so to say, in terms of connectivity, to the same way it was bridges. If bridges are very much needed for the MultiversX ecosystem, this is just a liquidity bridge supercharged. Now, if bridges we allowed ourselves and are very much dependent on some other partners that might be delaying the train, this time we don't want to depend on those partners, and this time we have engineered our way away for the entire ecosystem to connect ourselves to this to build the bridges ourselves, which are not dependent on the technical implementation and so forth. So I please, Benny,
I
now is
would
that
also
you can talk now
yes.
about the price. I
Yes.
answered around.
I would almost flip the question a bit and ask you, like, what would you actually buy? Would you buy actually a project that is positioned for this macro landscape, is preparing its biggest release since Genesis, which is Supernova? It's preparing a new economics to give sexy and competitive incentives for stakers, sexy and competitive incentives for builders to drive the revenue metrics, and has understood and learned one thing, that it needs buyback mechanism. It needs to make money and drive that money to the token, right? If there's one lesson that everyone has learned during the last 6 months, is the market will punish every project that does not make money and does not bring the money back to the token. This is what we're doing with the DAT, with the ETF, and with everything. And then my question is, if you know that this is happening, wouldn't actually you want to front run it? What's a good moment? I'm not sure. I cannot legally speaking, let's say investment advice, but I would say what I'm doing myself. I think just for the people here, whenever you're thinking, hey, this is good or bad and so on, just understand that for us personally, we're more invested than a Genesis. We've not invested a small amount, we've invested everything. We've invested our life, energy, money, all of it, and it's there because we just believe that we either will make it happen or die trying. We'll see
I have
how
a
it goes.
question about those buybacks. Everywhere, everyone
Sure.
is speaking about buyback. Okay,
Sure.
it pumps the price. Okay, no problem about that. But the thing is, it is that we are right now in a short-term buyback. There is no buyback since 10 years ago. We have no idea where will we go with that. So the question is, moving forward in 10 years, 20 years, what are you gonna do with all this buyback?
The point is, the buyback is not alone. There's two pillars that will need to be embedded in any protocol, in any crypto business, without which they will die. One will be, how do you generate real money? There is no way around it. You need to generate real money.
Definitely.
Second, for part of that, you need to bring back to the token. So if you generate real money and you bring it back to the token, then you have a good positive flywheel that
But
is
forever?
not on. The point is, let's say, the point is, NVIDIA is 40 years old. Forever is a bit of a stretch. I mean, not even Rome has lasted that long. But to pragmatically speaking, I think there are ways to build monopolies in some segments at a scale that has not been done up until this point, right? And so it's all more like can you actually build a few, like what would, maybe this is the question, what would a fiber network for finance be priced at? What would it mean if you have the fiber network, the stablecoin infrastructure, and the wallet infrastructure, and anyone in the world can build or use them and so on? What's a good valuation? I'm not sure, but I think given that we're seeing this type of financial and economic renaissance started with the US, I think that's going to be one really big, not only meta, but revenue driver like nothing else.
Understood. Okay, I have some question from the community for you guys, and we're gonna go after that on our last theme. We're gonna speak about funding, investment, and DAT. Question from Calgon57: Are priority fees relevant when you can simply add a shard? Also, is it possible to add a shard during a peak and then remove it afterward?
So I think there's a design since Genesis for that we have designed the entire state tree model but it's so-called binary state tree that allows us to add more shards and remove more shards. Yes. Secondly, in order to have economic security and incentives for and relevance for that, there's a factor of two. So you need to have first sustainable or long enough time demand in order to prepare the network to trigger this kind of stuff. It's not like Amazon doesn't just add and build a new data center just because on one night they had a peak where more customers actually decided to spin their services there. Secondly, assuming that there is enough demand and enough economic incentives for validators to run multiple nodes, run more infrastructure for the network. Yes, there is a process for that, and yes, the architecture has been prepared for that, and yes, we also have a process of splitting and merging state. This took us one of the longest period, I think, on the architecture when it comes to state sharding, by the way, and I think we're finally getting to a point, hopefully, to make use of all this kind of breakthroughs that we have researched for a very long time. I hope this answers a bit the question.
Other question from Crypto Bread: How will the new economic model ensure long-term alignment between GLD holders, validators, and builder without risking inflation or excessive dilution? I think we answered that a little while ago, but if you still want to answer it.
Lucian? Or should I take it?
Sorry, I was just reading the comments as well for a second. I went.
Let me just add one element on it. So I think the long term becomes right now the short term. So we'll have batches instead of looking at 100 years and saying, "Hey, we've designed this system for the next 100 years." We'll take it very much pragmatically, one step at a time. We want to stand it up as fast as possible. And we want to look how the next quarters look. How much liquidity does it attract? How much revenue does it attract? How well does it position MultiversX and EGLD in the broader ecosystem on Wall Street, in the US, and so on? And if that works, of course, we want to double down on it. If it doesn't work, we'll refine the system until it works so that the entire set of players, actors, whether they're stakers, builders, and so on, will just say, hey, actually, we want more of these refinements because we see how vibrant and alive the ecosystem is. And this is what we see the community wants more than ever.
Okay, thank you. Last question. Once you create the new token and as I understood, blocked for 3 years, are they going to be able to cash out instantly their staking rewards?
No. The point here, and by the way, the point here is actually those entities are designed to increase their value, or like it's so-called native NAV, So net asset value. The way they increase their net asset value is particularly through increasing the amounts of tokens in their balance sheet, and by doing that, they increase the ultimately the stock or the representation of that balance sheet into the traditional form. If it is ETF, DAT, stocks, whatever that form would be, it will increase in value. That value would be actually give a premium towards each. Either the company will be able to loan against or sell against the stock, not the coin. By doing that, they will acquire cash. With the cash will be used again to be purchased more of the digital asset underneath. I hope this is the process. I'm still gonna learn a lot more. I can't wait actually to get the process going, and I'm most likely gonna look like an idiot what I said now once we are above the other side. But as of my humble understanding of today, I think this is a good explanation.
So let's run to the last theme of the interview. We're going to speak funding, governance, reflexive investment. Let's talk about the famous DAT. It's a big thing for MultiversX. And the first question I have is that the reflexive strategic investment, that's it, RSI, lets you mint up to, if I'm not mistaken, up to $100 million worth of EGLD tranches at $20, $35, and $50, locked for 3 years. Are we good with that?
Good as in if that is correct, or good as in is it good for
correct?
bringing growth?
No, is it correct?
No, it's more than that. It's 100 million for the DAT, then a separate tranche of approximately 50 million for the ETF, and a separate tranche for the US labs entity.
Okay, so yeah.
But all of them locked, all of them not touching the market, and all of them unlocking value at the same time for the ecosystem.
Okay. So total, how much capital do you actually hope to raise through the digital asset treasury?
It's everything I say now should not be interpreted. I need to state this just for the legal reasons. Definitely. Everything I say now is not investment advice. It's not forward-looking statement, and it's just some approximation of what we believe at this point. My very simple and humble idea is that this DAT will actually buy in excess beyond $1 billion of EGLD. This is again just my approximation in several tranches. I ideally want a template that is recurring, repeatable, that works, and has done what MicroStrategy has done for Bitcoin over a longer period of time, not stretching itself, but actually positioning itself to acquire as much as possible from the digital asset, and continuously buying the top, as Michael Saylor likes to say, blasting the top without any regard, because once you understand the mechanics, that drives things. So this is why the investment, as I was mentioning before, the investment of standing up this company that is a publicly listed company on the New York Stock Exchange of $100 million, with the idea that it will buy not 100 million, but actually repeatedly leverage that so that it can buy several times from the ecosystem. I think that is a great effect that is tangible for what we're doing.
Okay. Sorry, got a thing. So we're speaking about 5 million EGLD token would be this all locked. What kind of premium do you expect investors to pay in such private deals?
This is very much dependent on the deals that are very sensitive. What I would say is there is demand. And until we close a deal, you know how sensitive any type of conversation like this is. We want to make sure that we have the necessary buckets to provide that seed capital, and then once the things are in place, we want to make sure that we give the EGLD token and this ecosystem the chance to shine on Wall Street. Because actually, to have a company whose sole purpose is to buy this digital token and who is listed as a proxy on NASDAQ is something of an extraordinary thing. It's almost like having your own IPO, but you're doing it for the network, right? It's hard for most people to grasp, but it is a very important and very changing milestone for the dynamic of an ecosystem.
It was my next question. Do you already have handshake agreements or investors discussion underway for these RSI tranches, or it's still a concept? But I think you kind of...
Let me drop one simple and humble alpha here. We do have some soft commits for the interest and for what we're trying to do there.
You know what it's making me remember? I'm sure you've seen it. Last time when we did the interview, a clip got out the interview when I asked the question, are you guys planning to raise fund? And you say yes. And it was this meme with everyone in the bar just throwing the beer and jumping and being crazy. Do you remember this meme?
I think so. But it was some time ago. We need some new memes.
Okay, who decides when a tranche get minted? For example, if EGLD hits $35 for a week and then drops, do you still trigger it?
So let me clarify a few things. So first, the big elephant in the room. We want the DAT for the ecosystem because the DAT brings a buy pressure that is unlike anything we've seen, that is plugged into the deepest liquidity pool in the world, which is the stock exchange, right? Second, how does this happen? Well, we've introduced actually today a few trigger steps, activation trigger steps, that just tries to clarify a bit for the people, how would something like this happen? Suppose that step one, you've passed the governance proposal and there is clarity, there is an architecture, there is a step process through which this is done. Well, even though this is done theoretically and from a governance perspective, it has passed. One, nothing is minted or unlocked until the deal is closed with the investment bank. The investment bank is the main partner that actually guides the entire process, facilitates the entire process, advertises the investment. And just as in an IPO, the investment bank is actually the kind of partner with which you do all the other things that are needed. That's number one. So once there is a deal on this and the entire process is clarified with respect to what's next, how it happens, and the interest basically has been clarified, at that point, there is a kind of announcement that we're doing to the community that this milestone has been achieved. And during the next 1 or 2 weeks, these locked tokens that will not be moved, will not touch the market and so on, will be minted and will be seeded in that type of entity. So everything will be done in a way where, again, governance, without governance, nothing happens, nothing can be minted and it will not exist. Second, once governance is passed, there will be a kind of structural plan with the next 5 steps, which triggers what, and how it will be done. And then lastly, every step of the way will repeat. Here's what's going to happen. Here's what's happening. Here's what's happened. Just to let the community see this as the most important momentum building step, right? Because I think this, once it's ready and once it's happened, it will be something that's worth celebrating in some sense.
Okay, so the question was if EGLD hit $35 for weekend drops, do you still trigger it?
Let me mention one thing, and then I'll let you, Lucian. The price triggers may even disappear there if we find a better trigger.
Okay.
Just because the price trigger were put there more like a let's say one trigger until we can mention some of the other relevant triggers, and it might be the question for that is this a trigger for activation, or is this a kind of buyback front running trigger? Like, shouldn't actually the market price this in at some point if they consider this will happen? I'm not sure. We'll see a bit how it goes, but at least adds a bit this different perspective than what people look at right now. Lucian, please.
No, exactly. Maybe just to build on top of that and restate a few points in simple words. On the one hand, people have understood that this is a very big milestone, hitting $20 or something. They almost overthink it and took it on the one hand, in the sense that yeah, but is it that far? Is it? Well, and I just want to point out the reasoning for that again, and just doubling down on what Benny said is, we want to set the train in motion. I cannot stress how much we want actually this too. And we think that only just by pointing from my expectations, it needs one good week actually in the markets where Trump doesn't President Trump doesn't put more tariffs, and Bitcoin stops a bit growing, and then the market shift. I think the train and those kind of triggers will be just laughable on the one hand, and this is just for us again stressing this. We don't look at this as a ceiling in any way. We look at this as close as possible common sense triggers to get the train in motion. I hope this just clarifies a bit the sense. Please, Benny.
Plus, maybe just to complement this, if it's not obvious, we do have a sense of urgency. This should not happen, hey, we're discussing about what's happening in 1 year. No, this is happening as we speak. Like, we're having these conversations. We've been in the trenches with the community discussing the entire week. The next week again, specifically just to make sure that the economics is understood, it's aligned. And then the milestone, the price triggers might even disappear completely. And we say, hey, the voting should be done on the path. And then there will be some other trigger points, because what we want is the community to get this opportunity, not to sit on it and wait for some other triggers that might be smashed really fast, or it might be taken out. The point is urgency. Once we align and we make sure that the people understand and love this thing that is, I should acknowledge, this primitive that we're calling reflexive investment. This is crazy. Make no mistake. We're the first ones to say this is not something that you'll see in Europe, at least. Of course, in the US, we're not the only ones crazy. There's many people that have tried this and so on. And we have a lot to learn. But the point here is we need speed, right? We need the alignment. Once we have the dialogue, we need to move as fast as possible and get that done, because we want this for the community and for the ecosystem.
I have 2 or 3 more questions, guys. Ben, you've mentioned setting up US labs and even ETF structures. Doesn't that make MultiversX heavily dependent on traditional finance approval?
Can you please repeat?
The question was, you've mentioned setting up soon US labs and ETF structures. Doesn't that make MultiversX heavily dependent on everything that's traditional finance approval and all?
No, each of these tracks has their own separate track. So the DAT is an entire track. Some people spend their life and will never do something like that. That's an entire track. It's more than a mouthful, a lot. ETF is again an entire track with its own separate pipeline and so on. And the labs, again, at some point, maybe this will converge, but at first it's very simple to say, hey, these are all things that need to happen because the ecosystem needs to be there, needs to be aligned with the White House, needs with the Wall Street, and at that point we have the relevant conversations and deals.
But plan B, if those partnership you just takes around, I don't know, 12 to 18 months, how do you guys sustain the operation without extra emission or treasury sales?
We already have let me put it this way. We
Yes.
already have a runway and have stated, I think, before 10 plus years. I don't know who's actually exaggerating about our debt every single day.
No, there's a saying. There's a saying. You probably know one. Maybe it was Kissinger that had this saying. The rumors of my death have been greatly exaggerated. And then he just went to explain the things and so on. So we don't believe there is a way where the conversations on the ATs and so on will take 18 months. That would mean that the world is dead. It cannot happen like that. Maybe I'm completely irrealistic here, but I'm just stating 12, 18 months means an eternity in the crypto space. So we are here, we want to move as we speak, and then the next week and the next week to have the proposals, conversations, conclusions, and so on, because we feel right now the change is happening. So this is why acceleration is key.
Okay. I'm going to ask a touchy question. How much EGLD does the foundation and the funding team still own today?
More than at the Genesis. Let me put
Yes.
this. Me and Beniamin, we own more than what we received and bought prior to the Genesis ourselves.
Okay.
Now there's even more of that.
Okay. Is there any commitment to lock or vest those tokens during this reform?
The tokens already are, by the way, fully allocated and staked since years, and then they will be just double down on that all along.
Okay.
There's no point for me waking up and not being fully aligned. Again, I think
I know that's just question that
Sure.
came back.
no, it's good, it's also me.
That's question that
explaining
people
the reason.
they're asking themselves. This.
It's good. It's good. I don't take it in a negative. I'm just trying to give
one good way, but on this I'll probably add a note at a later stage, maybe after we make some conclude one important milestone during the next few weeks. The one good way of thinking about this is I would ideally never have to sell my stake. I should be able to take a loan in the order of hundreds of millions of dollars on this stake, precisely because I'm building something that is not since yesterday and not for tomorrow. So if it has this type of financial infrastructure and financial engineering, actually the US have never sold their stuff. They're taking some loans that are crazy to name, but actually with time, you can actually learn some stuff. Give it some time and you learn some stuff.
There's a process, buy, borrow, die, right? I think is a very, very old. And by the way, I'm just bringing also a dodgy topic also myself. If we're at this point, what about having and literally leveraging long in a micro strategy way, given all the rewards and incentives on EGLD? I think the yield towards you can borrow and sustain to attract liquidity compared to or in relation with the two buckets of rewards that are bringing from the new inflation is pretty sound model that you can literally attract for a very long time already, continuous new liquidity of stables, and pay from the interest to just leverage long this strategy. Again, this is just a crazy idea. I don't recommend anyone. This is no financial advice. This is not actually, but this is just something that I was expecting to simulate for myself a bit how that would look like. I don't know yet any results to just say it like that.
Understood. Okay, well, I have asked all the question I had lately. Do you guys have something to add? Something that we didn't cover? Anything?
Look, supernova. It's one word. Supernova will rock the game. And with supernova, we'll do everything we can to make sure that the economics are sexy, enticing, and give us a new genesis moment. We look at everything we're discussing as a new genesis moment. Why? Because the Elrond genesis was unlike any other moment that we've seen from other crypto ecosystems. And we believe with supernova and with the new economics model, we can create something where the people, the builders, the different liquidity deployers in the world can see this opportunity as something unparalleled. So this is what we're pushing as hard as possible toward. DATs are just the simple spice to make it feel a bit better.
Okay, chat, if you have any question, it's right now. It's almost over. I have my rapid fire question for the end. And if you have any question, ask them now or don't speak. Ben and Lucian, what's the worst case scenario for this new model?
It doesn't go through. We stay boring as fuck. Sorry to put it like this, and then we just expect something to happen. I think this is the most pessimistic version, and yeah, a version that I literally will slowly kill everything.
And you, Ben?
I think that's definitely the most pessimistic. The rest is just changing, refining, testing, and that's usually life at its best.
One number you guys want the community to remember tonight?
The one number I would say for the simple people, it's the thing that they will very soon have around almost 10% staking rewards, like purely simple, and then they will have up to something like 7% on top of that with some type of boosting activities. Whoever is looking at the staking part, that's something extraordinary for them. Second, for the builders, 90% from the fees. That's something you can start a conversation with. That's great. And then last, for everyone else, I think one good food for thought is what MicroStrategy has done for Bitcoin. What happens when you plug something really well engineered in EGLD? That's just a good food for thought. What number comes out of it as an output? I'm not sure. I would be looking forward to the community to what good number comes out of it.
Lucian, you have another number you think about, or that's okay?
Beniamin used all the numbers actually that I could refer to without saying anything related to the price, right?
You can say whatever number you want.
No number. I'll just stick to the ones already.
Okay. Last question, and this time it's for you. It's for you, Ben. Sorry, Lucian.
Sure.
One promise you can make for the next 90 days. Sorry, I'm going to do it again. One promise you can make for the next 90 days.
I usually learn to not do promises, first of all, just to be much more pragmatic and so on. But one thing that will do like there's no tomorrow is push extraordinarily hard for Supernova and for the economics. I think if we deliver that, then the vision we set out with of Elrond will be taken to the next level. Not only completed, but even above that. That's my humble 2 cents.
Okay. Well, guys, I think it's been an intense discussion. Not about hype or whatever, drama or whatever, but about substance. And the next month and maybe the next 19 days or even lower will tell how MultiversX can transform this new economics into growth. And I can't wait to see it.
Ben, it's been a really great conversation. As I said last time, we should do it more often and see you maybe in the US next time. Who knows?
Definitely. Shoot me a call whenever. I'm in Canada, Montreal, if you happen to be around. But if you're in the States, New York or something, shoot me a text. You never know.
Have fun. Have fun there, guys. And looking forward.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Ben.
Pleasure
Thanks,
being here.
Have a good one and see you guys soon.
Thank you very much. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks to everyone that has followed the live. I hope you learned a lot of things. Thanks to Beniamin and Lucien for being here, answering the question. They haven't seen any question before the live. They answered almost everything. I hope you liked what you've seen and what you learned. And yeah, sorry for my English. I'm French after all. Moi, je parle français, baguette, baguette. So thank you, guys. We will continue to speak about what's happening in the future of MultiversX. So stay put, and don't forget to subscribe if it's not done yet. For the English speakers in general, all our content is in French, but just a little like or something, it's always cool. Anyway, I have to go. My wife is gonna kill me. It take so much more time that I expected at the beginning. Anyway, thank you so much, guys. Have a good weekend. I'll see you around, and thank you. Have a good one. Bye bye. Ciao. Et merci à tous les Français qui ont suivi aussi. Je vous ai vu. Vous m'avez fait beaucoup rire quand ça s'est mis à parler roumain à travers des gens de la commune. ciao les amis.